Hi everyone, we are live. This is the first live that I've done myself when I'm interviewing someone as a twin flame, so that's super exciting. Today we have Lorna Torres, Serrano, sorry, that's
Well,
she's in
it's okay.
transition time. We're gonna be talking a little bit of her experience, and hopefully we're gonna be sharing some nice tips for people how they can advance better on their journey just to make it a little bit easier and smoother for them. So, hello everyone. And Lorna,
Hello,
first,
everyone.
I would love you to introduce yourself to community.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lorna Serrano. Torres is my marriage name, but that's, kind of in a transition, like Paulina said. And I've been a twin flame on this journey. Actually, I think it's 14 plus years. I was doing the calculations today. My son is 20. He's going to be 21. And he was just about 7 years old, six going on seven. So that's at least 14 plus years. That's a long time on the journey. So I've got a lot to share.
Mm. And you do something else besides being a twin flame, like you also have your own practices, right? From
Yeah, yeah. I channel many different energies, but um I channel ancestors and pets and of course loved ones and from source, like most of us. And I do quantum healing, and it's remote quantum healing. I also do shamanic practices, and that's pretty extensive, so I really don't want to spend too much
mm-hmm.
time on that. But that's basically it, just doing the healing and the service.
Yeah, but it's great because there are so many different options once you open up to this world. Like, I'm not sure if you had your first. What was first? Like, did you experience the twin flame connection first, or did you start doing your practices before?
No, definitely the twin flame experience came first.
Huh.
Definitely. And my son was, I think, in first grade. So he was between 6 and 7.
Mm.
And I had my first ignition then. Um, but, you know, the journey started way before that. It was way before that. But some of us don't realize, hey, it was before the ignition. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
exactly the ignition that started the journey. So
Yeah.
I could remember as early as in my late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So um, that was in the 90s. 1998, 99 was probably when I first noticed that energy was changing. I was changing mentally. I was changing. I was going through a lot of different, I guess I was going through like a sort of a purification back
Mm.
then, So yeah.
I was about to ask, like, did you see it as some kind of like a preparation for the experience, right?
I actually see it now. I didn't see it
Mm-hmm.
then. I didn't see it then, and when I was pregnant with my son, there's um something struck me because that's the first time I felt the universe
Mm.
was when I was pregnant with my son. So this was 21 years ago. I felt the universe within me. And
Mm.
so um yeah, that's really the first thing that I could remember as far as looking back. That's
No, but
probably the
it's
first
great.
memory.
And it's strong because it already shows you this part of your own personal mission, right? Like, because people are talking so much about missions and what is my mission as a twin flame, while a little bit they forget sometimes, like, you have here something else to achieve, right? Like, it's not only about this journey, because also getting this perspective helps to see this bigger picture that, you
Mhm.
have been prepared in those previous years already before awakening. while people tend to kind of forget whatever happened before, put it into this big bag called karmic experience, and then it's anything else after. This is the beginning of the journey. While I see it a little bit differently. I see it like how those repeated cycles are kind of coming to us, and just at certain level, finally you realize, oh, I'm awake. But then if you track it back, you will see, oh, it was happening to me over and over, right?
Oh, yeah. And I think a lot of us, when we look back, we really start to put it together. And we're like, there are people who I've heard them say, oh, I've been awakened my whole life,
Mm.
or I had this experience when I was 5 and I knew. I mean, I was in preschool, and in preschool, there was a situation happening in the playground. And I remember thinking, why can't I just come down from where I am? Like, why can't why isn't this working?
Mm.
And I'm in preschool. So I don't know where I got that from, but I thought I had this idea that I could come down from where I was
Mm.
and, meet my teacher quicker than what my body could do.
Oh wow.
So
So that was a
just there's,
sensation that there is something, like you came from somewhere, basically, right? Like,
yeah. And I was wondering, why couldn't I get there like this fast? But there's some memories in my childhood um that I've kind of just put out of my mind, and they're all starting to come back, and
mm,
I really appreciate the journey so much more.
yeah. I think especially as you go along the journey and you heal some of the traumas, I believe you're kind of unlocking more and more, and you start remembering more and more, because many of those things are just forgotten, right? Because it was too painful to remember. Mm.
Oh, definitely. You helped me with that,
Mm.
with the mental blocks that I had because of trauma, because trauma can be really huge. Some of us have so much of it. And the universe kept showing me deal and showing me deal. And I was like, what is this? Why do they keep showing me deal? They keep showing me deal. What is this about? And sure enough, it was about meeting the soul family, meeting you, meeting everyone, and working on some projects together.
Mm.
It was really calling us to to work, to do our mission.
Yeah. And a joint mission, right? Not only individual, because we are talking about those individual missions because I believe we have some part that we can contribute, we as individuals, but at the same time, when you're going and progressing, you will start noticing there is some bonds here, right? Like it's kind of a soul family. People like to call it this way, and it's amazing how the universe will really be bringing people together in the right moment, and you will get premonitions. And one thing I wanted to maybe mention to people, because I see that when we are referring to those soul connections, especially when people try to define connection, they would be saying that if that's your twin flame, you'll get telepathy. And here, maybe as an example, you can have
Yeah,
telepathy with anyone. Like I'm having it with my family, I'm having it with you, with Dio. It's
yeah.
some don't mm, maybe don't put any limits on yourself, and don't believe that whatever someone else say. Always be ready to question that, because it's a little bit broader concept than what is being repeated, right? Like it's constantly changing as well.
Our yeah, and according to our belief systems, because if you believe you're only gonna have telepathy with your twin, boy, you're missing out
Mm.
because you can have telepathy with so many, and I do, like, for my work, I do the soul weaving, soul doctor, and I'm in touch with many souls,
Mm.
many souls. So don't shrink, don't shrink because you're because of if you're limiting yourself, you're shrinking the idea that you're just able to do this. You're only going to be able to do this, and that's it, and it's not true.
Especially when we are talking about that really what you believe is shaping your reality. It's like if you cannot believe in something, if you cannot imagine, obviously it won't come and manifest in your reality. So that's, and especially when we talk about how this twin flame paradigm is changing. Is it the paradigm that is changing, or is it like people are increasing in consciousness and they expand their view? They are ready to see those things from different perspective, broader perspective, right? And with this, I wanted to also ask you, do you feel your idea of a twin flame experience was changing over those years since the beginning as it started?
You better believe it. It's changed dramatically because back then, um, I only found Wolf. When I went online, I only found Wolf and his articles
Oh, you
on
mean
Twin Flame.
Wolf from Wolf Alchemy? Mm-hmm. Or Wolf
Yes,
Alchemy.
I found him and he had articles online. And then I found, I think her name was Leona or Leora, something like that, when she passed on. And then I found Mel. And then I found Dio
Mm-hmm.
and and several other people. And so, yeah, there were belief systems. A lot of us were looking for information, and thank goodness for the connection, right? Because it followed. Um, I didn't know these people knew one another either, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so, I never contacted Wolf, although I did contact Dio and I contacted Mel, and several other people in the community. Um, but yeah, things have definitely changed. And I didn't always watch videos religiously because I really wanted to have my own experience and I
Mm-hmm.
was just being guided, by source.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the other energies, so it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing to be able to just embrace the change. You can't tie yourself down to a belief system, or you can't keep thinking there's just this one person.
Mm-hmm.
My soul is connected to this one person because I'm going to tell you something. I've experienced like the there's and I've had this talk with you. Do you remember us talking about the oversoul?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so it's full of so many souls, so many soul family members, hundreds and thousands.
Mm-hmm.
And so um the way it was shown to me was like water droplets, right? You know how water droplets meet one another and then they become, this energy, and then it keeps growing and growing. Well, that's pretty much how it was shown to me. And so then that went out the window. It was like that's definitely not what I thought, but this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When you start channeling everything, animals, trees, and when you experience this oneness that they call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You realize that this is definitely more than what you thought. It is not this romantic connection or this thing that people are wanting. Because I learned over the years that you're wanting you, right? You're wanting you. You're wanting to get to know you. You're wanting to love you. And if you come from a place where you were traumatized so severely, like I did, you're really going to be searching for that the wholeness within you. You're not going to want to chase this, chase that.
Mm-hmm.
What you're wanting to do is make these connections and find out what these connections can do for you and what it can do for others. It's not about hey, you know, um let me see if we could hook up right with this one, hook up with that one. And that's another thing that I came across where people are hooking up like with so many people, and it's like, oh no, what are you doing? You have to always go back to you. give this all to you,
Mm-hmm.
figure out who you are, start loving you. And you, of course, taught me this, you and Deal and others. And it's just been incredible.
Mm.
I would never want to be part of the belief system where there's just this one.
Mm-hmm. Because it
Because if
probably felt a little bit smaller since the beginning, right? Like this, of course, everyone has to go through this phase of emotional attachment and feeling, oh, this is my half, and it's like it's guided, it was made by the universe, and it's just really expanding this view of this oversoul, right? Like we are just little pieces of something, and you can merge with those little pieces as many times as possible. It's like one
mm,
piece doesn't work, there will be thousands of others, right? Like there is a little bit with the scarcity, but just really brings it into this picture that we are merging on multiple levels. Why would you keep yourself at just one single level? You don't want to go up. Um,
yeah, if you follow your heart, you're going to know, you're going to know that this is limited,
mhm,
right? You're limiting yourself. And then doors start to open once you surrender what you thought was going to be. Doors begin to open, opportunities open up for you,
mhm.
and evolution. Who wouldn't want evolution? Who wouldn't want that?
That's and we sometimes we forget that this is the one of the main parts, right? Like we are not here to be paired up with someone and just build a house. It's really the evolution. And one thing, it's sometimes it's hard to understand that it's a little bit painful experience to evolve, right? Like sometimes we evolve through pain, through living some of these old patterns, old belief systems, and really reminder to everyone, like be okay with changing your belief systems, because people are guarding them, right? Like they feel like, oh, I believe in it and I think it's, I should stick to it because I think it's not correct what I believe. Just believe it, whatever feels right to your heart in the current moment, what vibrate like resonates with you, right? mm. We have
Yeah.
several people coming to the chat, so I'm just gonna recognize. Hi Diamond B, hi Rich. We have a question from Christine Nativlove. Hello, I believe I have met two different twin flames, but I think it turned out they were not. So how do you truly know? What's your opinion?
Is this a question for you, Paulina?
I think it's for both of us. Like it's just as we like I will add something from myself, but I would love to hear how you see it with this multiple twin flames and who is false, who is true.
I think you have to know yourself in order to know the answer. You have to know yourself. If you're not currently loving yourself and knowing yourself, you're not really going to know, and that is my answer.
Mm. Yeah, I have a similar viewpoint. Like I always came to this terms with my own definition. I really see it's like if you're true to yourself and someone consciously chooses to do the work with you and you don't compromise any part of you, you don't have to hide anything, and you feel that you can be totally true with that person, that's your true twin flame. If anything, if you there is some sense of falsehood, or you feel like you're playing someone that you're not, just for the sake of maintaining the connection, and you compromise yourself, this is false connection. That's how I used to call it. Like there is no truth in that. So there is, please don't try to put a mark on a label on a person. It's not about the person, it's about your approach to the connection,
Mm,
right? The more truthful you are, the more true twin flame experience you can experience yourself.
yeah,
So hopefully
yeah,
that
no.
would clarify a little bit, because it's, and you can see from this perspective, you see how it's progressing, that it's, oh really, I can see how I was evolving through those connections I was having, and I was discovering more of myself, more of my truth. Oh, so Christine replied, makes complete sense. So that's,
Mm,
it's good to see that it kind of resonates, because it's a big, like a major step, right? Like once you take yourself from this box,
mm.
self-limited, self-imposed box.
So, can I add a little something, or did
Sure.
you want to move on?
No. Like, please.
Okay, so maybe another way that you can tell is if you're evolving with this individual.
Mm.
Because when you're doing the work together and you separate, because there has to be separation, there has to be some processing done and all of that. When you notice that you are evolving and you're getting your upgrades, you're getting this connection is growing. There's a lot happening for you. Uh, you hear clearer. Your gifts are coming in. All of this stuff. That is another way that you can tell that you have a connection. You do have a connection. Not so much that you know what the connection is, because don't start romanticizing.
Big time.
Give it freedom. Give it space.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's meant to be something, it will develop between the two of you. And as you guys always say, you and Dio, it would come to form in the 3D.
Mm-hmm. I truly believe in that. That it's at some point that some connections are just not meant to manifest. Because looking back, I was like, why does the story is repeating itself? Like with Dio right now, but it feels the previous one. It stayed in this higher dimensions, but really didn't feel real. Like it didn't really had a chance to manifest, and it can be different reasons. Maybe we were both not ready, maybe wrong time, maybe that was just not the person that was supposed to continue the journey with me. And it's really not up to you to decide. There is nothing to decide on. It's like, as you said, you have to give it a space. As long as the connection is there is a purpose in that. And as you said, if you feel that you grow with the connection, but not with the because of the person, that someone helps you even actively, you just
Mhm.
maintain this energetic connection without cutting it, just because maybe it's going not your way, but accept it. That's the expression it came to fruition, right? Like that's how it's manifesting. Do you accept it? And if you can accept any form that it's coming to you, you can remove those blocks. Like the energies can flow freely, as long, or maybe, yeah, for as long as they need. Because as you said, you constantly get upgrades, constantly overcome some things in yourself. And it doesn't
Mhm.
mean that the person has to help with that. You see that your life is getting into the right shape. That's a good point. Thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And let's just bring up the control again, and how, right? Uh that is, I think, one of the things that can sabotage, right? It can sabotage a connection when you're trying to control something uh and just manipulate something. And so when you learn to trust the universe, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're giving the universe the control, because you don't need to control it. It's just going to either form or not, and you have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
So don't sabotage your connections.
Mm. That's a good point, because sometimes it's like things that are not serving you, they have to fall off, and they are not able to fall off if you hold on to them tightly. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the only way to really try to get to the point where we all want to go. Like we all want to have a healthy connections, but we have to realize we have no idea who is the one that we are supposed to build it with. So just don't get tricked by those initial ignitions. Ignitions are necessary and they are intense, but for some soul connections, they are just short-lived, just because that was the reason, right? But we just like to kind of maintain them as long, maybe even longer than necessary, and then you will be
Right.
catching yourself. There is imbalance, and maybe it should fall off or just live its own life.
Yeah, definitely it should fall away, especially with the connections that are toxic. Because
Mm-hmm.
believe it or not, there are toxic twin flame connections. I've seen them. I've been on the journey for a long time, and uh twin flame toxic connection, for for some people, maybe that's okay with them, but again, you are limiting yourself.
Mhm.
So it's best,
Yeah.
yeah, it's best to choose evolution. Choose evolution. You can't ever go wrong.
Yeah, I think that fear plays a little bit of a role, right? This fear that, oh, if I let go of this one, there might not be any, there won't be any other. So I'd better hold on to this one because I don't want to be lonely in this spiritual journey because this is my other half. This is a
Mm,
kind of, there won't be another chance, and that's the trust that we say, right? Like a trust that you're worthy of having a proper balanced connection, and you're the only one blocking it, really, right?
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You're blocking it with belief systems, with toxic behaviors, with all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
You're really the one blocking the connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
don't blame your connection. Don't blame them.
Yeah, don't blame the connection. Why do you put up with it? Like, why do you allow something like that in like impact your life this way, right? Like, it just, I think we all have this healthy discernment if we really look into our hearts to see, is it healthy, is it balance, is it respectful, all of those cores. We just like to see sometimes compromise those and say, no, it's not fully this, but it's good enough. It's like that's my twin, that's my experience. That And especially because of our emotional attachments, I think it's so hard to see the broader picture and see there's no lack. It's, yes, there are times that you have to go on your own, because we were talking in the chat like yesterday that there is this very narrow path that you have to go through, but you can go through that only on your own because you're supposed to meet some other person on the other side. But do you have enough trust to cross over without having a partner next to you? That feels scary a little bit, and it takes a little bit of trust. And I really think this is one of the tests that we as the twin flames, we are going through, right? Like, if it's toxic, if it's not serving you, do you have a trust and faith that you deserve better, and are you ready to explore more?
Yeah, that's a true test right there. Because not everyone is going to have the confirmations right away. And you have to just sit with yourself and figure out, am I really having faith in this? Even if you think you're losing your mind, are you still having faith? Because everyone thinks that twin flames have lost their minds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone thinks that this twin flame thing is not real, but we know it's real. And talking about losing your mind, people do. I'm not going to say they don't, because I've experienced something like that. I have experienced that, and if I didn't meet the right people, I don't know what would have happened to me. I was still working. I was still doing my thing. I was still giving people what they need. I'm still caring for my son. I'm still caring for me. But something was off.
Mm-hmm.
Something was off. And if I didn't get connected, because the universe kept showing me deal, I was like, what is this about? I have to find out,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And Dio confirmed, oh, he saw, a fire truck, and oh, that was the sign. I was like, universe, show me a sign.
Mm-hmm.
And Dio saw the fire truck, and I was like, Dio, I got on the phone, Dio, the fire truck, I can't believe it. You saw the fire truck. And he was like, what do you mean? Like, he was trying to put it together, and he was like, oh, you better listen to the universe. You better go to Miami. You better listen. And I was like, okay, I'm packing my bags.
And that's where we met, right? That was
Yeah.
the time. Yeah, so that was. And you see, I remember our first conversation that we initially connected. I thought the purpose is completely different, but then during our first talk, there was some transferring going on, and it's like, obviously that was guided, right? But it's like, do you allow yourself to be guided to the right people? And then are you ready to learn some lessons with those people, right? It's not only your twin that you're gonna be learning lessons or gonna
Hmm.
mirror you. You can get it from everyone, and it's just please be ready to be guided for it. Mm.
Yeah, be ready to be guided and be open.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a hard time communicating sometimes, as much as I do this for work, I have a hard time communicating the things that I need.
Mm.
And I'm practicing, I'm getting better at it.
Yeah. You know what I
So,
think, even especially when you're in a separation period, whatever you call it, like your current soul connection kind of dissolved and you have all this free time. This is your
hmm,
preparation time for the next one, right? Like it's just, and it doesn't mean that
yeah,
you cannot practice healthy relationships if you're not in a romantic connection. I think we always get the proper people to train ourselves. But do you see those
yeah,
lessons, right? Because we have to, it's not like you have to be a good person only with your romantic relationship. Like you have to be ready to just interact properly with everyone. So that's also another, like I love this time of preparation, separation. It's, you can see it painful, you can see it very open and resourceful, that you will be connected to more people because you're not focused on one person. You have this curiosity, right? Like so many things
yeah.
to learn and so many different experiences to have. So it's takes a lot
There's
of
so
different
much.
perspective. Mm.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. One thing you touched base on that, but you said about losing their mind, right? Like we can our mind
Oh,
sometimes, and here I wanted to talk a little bit about our mental capacity, our mental body, how ex
mm,
how important it is to keep it in the right balance. Like not forget that yes, we are in a spiritual experience, but do you remember that you're part of different bodies, like, and maybe you can share your experience how it was evolving also for you.
I think the inner child, I think that piece of me was the most important thing for me to get back. And that started in Miami.
Mm,
So there's inner child work that you could do on your own, and then if the universe puts it on your path, you're doing it with other people.
mm-hmm,
And so yeah, I had really uh left my inner child behind. I was just operating on just the higher realms for a long time. It was a complete disconnect from my body.
mm,
And so my inner child kind of she needed to find me again, and that happened in Miami. And different people have different experiences, but she's been peeking in and peeking out, peeking in and peeking out, but she's still with me. She's
mm-hmm,
still hanging out with me. She's not, pew, going
mm-hmm,
off into another direction again. And um, I'm very, very careful not to disconnect from my body.
mm-hmm.
It's a very easy thing to do with people who have experienced severe trauma.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? Mental body, it brings us balance, it grounds us, it really creates this reality of this experience, that if you can comprehend, don't be afraid to put logic in your experience. If your logic says that something's not working and this this relationship or this connection, it feels off, and you feel there is lack of balance, like listen to the logic. It all has to come
Yeah.
down, and it all has to come together. Your mental body has to be satisfied with the current state. Your body has to be connected, like this is your connection with the realms, right? So it's,
Mhm.
you cannot left it out. And you pointed out the inner child, and I think that's super powerful, because I remember I had similar experiences, having dreams about having some girl, like, guiding her, taking her by hand and going through some snows and all of that. I remember the first experience I had with my inner child. I was having a dream. It was a few years in the journey, but suddenly I had a dream that said, "Oh, your inner child is still not healed." I I didn't treat this idea of inner child that seriously, but from that experience, several times it happened to me that I was seeing this girl, and it gradually I felt more and more connected that she feels safe. So for everyone, really, it's just this, the whole exercises with inner child is try to make your inner child happy and safe, you with your own self, that there is no one
Mhm.
really that it's needed from the external to take care of it. Like you have to make sure that your inner child knows it, and that really changes a lot of things in your journey. Mm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things you can't bypass is your inner child work.
Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I feel like maybe man has a little bit harder time to accept that. This is also the part, I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel women are more likely to grasp the concept and start working with inner child, where maybe for men it's not so easy, but it's important for everyone. There is
Oh
no
yeah.
exceptions. Yeah. We have some more comments. Elizabeth came, say hello, and so true what we are saying. So that's beautiful. And Dio came in and said, "Great job, you two." Just doing our service.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to ask about this progressing on a journey, it's one big part is detachment and learning to let go on the journey. Either experience or things are not serving. What's your take on that? Like, how did you overcome or learn to let go of this need of control?
Yeah, nothing will teach you that faster than your first connection, right? Your first connection. And if you still have this first connection, this is a step in the journey, you know? And some people get upset, but and I understand it. I'm not disconnected from uh my compassion here. I do get it. I understand it. If it is not serving you, you have to be able to choose your evolution, choose your connection with source, God, whatever you call it, universe. Choose that and and you're going to see how fast you go to the next level.
Mm,
That is a very crucial step, letting that first connection go, because if they're not in your life, if you are not growing from this connection, you'll be shown and you're going to go through so much pain if you don't let it go.
mm. Okay, but what
And what
about
was,
reminders? Like, what do you still get reminders about your first connection, and how do you take them? Like, what does it mean for you?
oh, when I get reminders, I just say, if I hear his name, I'll say, oh, this is just a little reminder to start loving me more and more.
Mm,
And I always say, God bless them. God bless their family. God bless the connection we had. And God bless us all. And
mm,
I say this all the time for everyone and everything. It's not just for my connection or for my first connection. I do it. I'm sincere about it because I care about our world. I care about myself. I care about everyone. And so that is just the best thing to do. And I hear the name less and less, less and less. And recently, I was laughing. I had a really good laugh because the universe said, um, "How about um, how about you divorce that one?" And I had a really good laugh because I was like, "Oh, I didn't know I was married to that first one, for 14 years." It was just a joke, because the universe can be humorous, right? The
mm,
universe is not just serious and saying you need to do this.
mm,
You need no, it's not that way. The universe is shifting and moving according to you, your personality, who you are, what you need,
mm,
and it was just a little humorous joke because the universe knows I let go of that individual. I did. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but once I realized, hey, this person's not even in my life. They've never contacted me. They don't respect me. They just vanished.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, no contact. And I was still in the belief system. Oh, this is my twin. This is my other half.
Mm-hmm.
This is what God gave me. This is my other half. No, we are like those water droplets that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And we can form these connections with just about anyone the universe puts on our path. And it goes according to what you need.
You know what just came to me, that especially people who have tendencies to be either people pleaser or just have hard time to put their own authority, they may have issues with just overcoming the paradigm, because it feels like, oh, but I don't want to go against the universe. I don't feel like this is God sent person. Like, why am I supposed to break this connection? And because there is a little bit like almost like a guilt that is associated with it if you not have this strong authority, because that's how it kind of felt to me. Am I really going against some higher order? But then I see right now, like, no, I was going against the belief systems, but how much I gained, how much I've learned, right? So it's like you have to find this inner rebel to say, okay, let me see what's on the other side. Let me see what is outside of the box. So I wanted to ask you, what happened to you once you finally let go? Like, what was the main shifts that started happening? Like, how your story
I,
started to unfold?
I made another connection.
Mm.
So, you know, that other connection was higher than the previous connection. Much, much higher. And I can't explain it. It's more like the um, frequency of this next connection is huge and it's meeting my frequency. They might not know it, but it is the same frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it's the same frequency, the soul work and all of the growth that you do is just next level.
Mm.
And why would you want to stay with somebody who's not shifting along with you or shifting? It doesn't have to be with you. Why would you keep it so small when it's this huge?
That's true. Yeah, because those are those limits that we just like to hold on something that is certain right now. Like, we don't know what it's on the other side when we have to let go and go on our own. And really, it can narrow our vision, because we are just looking in this one direction, while there is the whole world of opportunities. And especially, you have something to do here. You're not here just to wait in pain and just wonder when the person will be coming back to your life, because they may not come back. And I'm really happy that there are more people who are putting the information out there the same way, and even more people are resonating with this new concept. That means that really we are growing, we are evolving together. One thing it was coming to me when you were talking about those higher connections. I'm not entirely sure whether the level of connection is higher, or it's all on a god, or like this source frequency, this higher
Yes.
frequency that we are tapping in. But just because you are higher in awareness, you're able to sense it actually higher. So that's
Yeah.
just shows you that's a motivation for everyone, right? Like, just keep working on increasing your frequency, because you're gonna be sensing those people that are vibrating higher, and those will be the connections that will be coming to your life. They will be more peaceful by definition, because that's who you are. So
Mm-hmm.
that's we have a comment again. From Christine. My childhood was taken from abuse at a young age. Does that mean your twin flame went through trauma as well?
No, it doesn't.
Sometimes people say that we like to have the similar life paths or life experiences, but at the same time some people will say, oh, but actually you have the mirrored experience, so it's total opposite. and then which one is true? So I would say this one is, it's very difficult to say, right? Like it's just, it depends. Whatever background has to have your mirror, that's gonna be the
Mm-hmm.
background. Because sometimes, yes, we may get through the same trauma, just maybe if we are supposed to connect with this individual as a trauma bond, because that will happen sometimes, right? Like we are unhealed, it feels familiar, we feel some sense of comfort, we don't have to touch this
Mm-hmm.
topic because it's too sensitive, they don't touch it as well, and then
Right.
unfortunately it will be keeping you in this unhealed trauma. Like this connection may feel even balanced, like even peaceful, because you don't talk about
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable stuff, but you are not solving your issue. Mm.
Yeah. I said a very quick no because for me it's a no. And how do you feel about it,
Yeah, that's what I
Paulina?
feel, that there is no rule. We are sensing with Dio, I think we have quite a few similarities in terms of life path, how our lives were progressing. The previous connections, there were some sense of similarity, but I'm not sure if life paths. In general, I just saw these repeated patterns in people's lives or people's tendencies to have certain types of relationships or their similar
Mm-hmm.
interests and all of that. But it was just showing me that we are repeating cycles, right? The moment you can notice, why
Yeah.
do you feel like universe is bringing you familiar people, and what happens is, let's say you have an ignition, and then you will be having repeated cycles, like similar people coming to your life. People, instead of
Mm-hmm.
saying, oh, the cycle repeats itself, they will be, oh, universe reminds me about my original twin, that he's still my true twin. So that's the problem. Like it's just people are putting on a pedestal this one connection because that was the first touch with the source energy, and then they say anything after is less. Of course it's gonna be less because it's, as you progress, those connections will be higher, but you don't sense them as intense. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
gonna be as such a huge shock because you're dealing with energies for the first time. So I think that's kind of, again, mental exercise. Can you imagine that it's really, it's evolving. There is no one that it's better and others worse. There is one more concept that came to me that I don't necessarily like is I have a sense that people put on pedestal the twin flame paradigm, while soulmates, it feels more like a little bit like lower level, or you can set up with a soulmate. And I don't like labels and I don't believe in labels, but somehow they will be putting this difficult connection that cannot work out, that's as the highest goal that you can achieve as a twin flame. While if some things start to work and you actually can build a healthy relationship, they would call it soulmate, and they will say, yeah, you can choose to settle out with soulmate, but it's not your twin. It's still, that was the highest connection that you could get. So that's just this idea how we like to manipulate those labels, and they are not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily healthy for us. It's just, is it, to me it's more like, look at it, is it healthy, is it helping you, are you growing, or is it difficult, is it toxic, is it keeping you stuck or holding on to something? So this is good to check up on yourself.
You know, um, yeah, and that's a great point, Paulina. This this brought me to another thought, what we have to keep in mind as twin flames is we came here to shift what relationships are. So if you think in terms of the typical husband wife, right? Relationship, um, does that look like something you want, right? And not only does that look like something you want or desire or need, do you understand that if you don't work on these things, right, um, you're just going to be repeating these old patterns? And that's really um, unfortunate
Mm-hmm.
because if you repeat the patterns, where's your growth? And if you have children, where, what's going to happen with them and their evolution? You really have to think on a broad
Mm-hmm.
uh, scale here. It's not just about you, it's not just about that connection. It really is about what are we what imprint are we leaving behind on this planet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what do we do to break those unhealthy cycles, right? It's
Hmm.
kind of like I was explaining, right? Don't try to look for similarities. If a story repeats itself, it's not for you to say, oh, this is a universe reminding me about my twin. It's like, oh, you have a cycle to fix. You attracted the same type of person, not to put the first connection on a pedestal. It came to you because you were not able to solve it with the previous one. The universe gives you the option to see it and finally address
Hmm.
it and deal with that separate, like differently. Mm. Oh, we have a new person. Adam says, hello, ladies, and comment. Connections after your twin flame are just as important as your twin. These connections allow for your growth to continue on your journey, even though away from your twin. Agree.
Hmm.
And Christine, is it better to have your soulmate or twin flame? As I heard, soulmate is a lesson and twin flame is your other half of your soul. How do you tell the difference between a twin and a soulmate? I would like to hear your thoughts on that. We kind of touched base, but maybe we can kind of summarize your opinion.
I think that soulmates can be your twin. I think that there are many different types of twin flames,
Mm.
and just be open to that. You don't really have to have an answer. You just have to go on your journey, go
Mm-hmm.
on your individual journey, find who you are, trust the universe. It sounds repetitive, but whether it's a soulmate or twin flame or whatever you want to call it, you this doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things what the name is, what the label is.
Mm-hmm. I'll try to put it in the way I see it. So we were talking about this twin flames as an experience, right? Like we can, if we are playing with the labels, let's call that you're a person who is involved in a twin flame experience, meaning that you have access to source energy and there is another individual who can help you with this process, who can join you in this process, and together you will be involved within twin flame energy. Soulmates, I really think it's more the impression expression that we use as our helpers here, right? Like you can have different soulmates, you can have a different, it can be romantic partners, but it's in general those are the people that will be attracting to you to help you with your own evolution. But then that's how you see soulmate can be a twin flame, but the twin flame is more, it's not regarding a person. Again, it's about what is the function of this person. Oh, they are joining me in this evolutionary process, and together we can tap into this third energy and we can keep this balanced state for a longer time. So I don't know, it's I really don't like to confuse people more, and in general I think if playing with the definitions takes too much of your effort and you just cannot figure it out, just leave it. Don't pay that much attention. If it helps you to see repeated cycles, try to analyze that. Yes, that's good. Sometimes people like to put it into their heads to understand the process better, but sometimes it's unnecessary clutter, right? Like it can make you question yourself because you will be thinking, oh, I have this beautiful person in front of me. Oh, but I feel it's the soulmate. I think it's not my twin. And then you're bam closing your doors because you used some old. You don't know your belief system how they should change and adapt. So just oh okay, Christine. She thanked for responses. Um, yeah. One question regarding your journey. How do you think your experience as a twin flame helped you in general in different parts of your life? Because it's not about just having a connection and relationship. It impacts you in such a beautiful ways that it transforms everything. Is that what you also experienced?
Oh, absolutely. From my parenting my son to accepting that I'm living in a co-parenting situation, dealing with his dad. The respect, the level of respect that has to be there, even if someone's losing, their mind, you still have to remind yourself that you have compassion for whoever it is, and you need to be mindful of what your role is here. You have to be grateful for what they are contributing into your life. I mean, I could go on and on. There's so much that changes in your life. You change, people around you change, and we have to be able to evolve. It just is. And I went for a walk today. I was looking at nature, and I thought, look at this broken limb off this tree, but something else was growing on it, right? The limb is not upset about being broken, right? It is transforming. It is still transforming. And why can't we be like that?
Yeah.
If we're broken, right? If we're broken, we need to understand that we need to transform. We need to evolve, and we need to allow that transformation, because if we don't, then what is the point?
I love that actually. But people like to look at the branches, right? Like they would still look at those branches that are on the ground and they are supposed to dissolve completely, and just that's beautiful. Yeah, we are almost done. I will see if there are some questions. Diamond B. I think you can have multiple soulmates and one twin. Yeah. I think it's also touches base on like don't expect your experience to match other people experiences, because as we were saying,
Mm-hmm.
it will be always related to your current belief systems, but just be mindful. Whatever you believe, that's how it's gonna be manifesting your experience. So that's something to keep in mind, right? Like why this belief system on of having one twin, where is it coming from, and do you still want to keep this in your experience? If yes, it's okay, but just a reminder for everyone to be mindful of it, because that's how it works with this. That's how we co-create, right? And advices to, oh, that was my notes, about advices for moving forward for people who are on the journey, different stages, some like a key points, what comes to you as what's worth keeping in mind as you progress.
Do not compromise your journey by giving your energy to someone or something other than you.
Mm. Oh, that's great. And stick to your standards, right?
Yeah, you don't want to be in this journey all these years and this is not clicking, you
Mm-hmm.
know? I've been on the journey so long. If this wasn't going to click for me, when was it going to click for me? Because my life is improving. I'm meeting myself where I need to meet myself,
Mm-hmm.
and it's worth everything.
Mm-hmm.
So don't compromise your journey uh, by staying small and giving all that energy to this person that may or may not ever
Mm-hmm.
meet you halfway.
Yeah, for everyone really, to that claim to, oh, what if he comes back, or what if she comes back, it can be scary about to think about it that way, like, okay, I'm gonna start building my life, and then I'm gonna start building a family maybe, and what if he or she comes back? It's like, okay, what if he's not, what if she's not? And then people always like to project this most optimistic scenario, but also I feel there are some fears, right? Because it's like, oh my god, how am I gonna deal with this situation? It will be difficult. I better just stay alone and wait. If it happens, it happens, right? But it's not your, we are meant to be responsible. This is spiritual responsibility to evolve, not keeping ourselves safe. We always can find solutions in those kinds of moments, right?
Yeah, we were meant to wait. right? If we were meant to wait, you know, we'd have rocking chairs alongside our mates, right? And we'll be rocking and watching TV and rocking and watching TV, rocking and having a beer on the porch. Rock. What kind of life is that? No, don't do this to yourself.
Yeah.
That is not why we came back.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That is not why we came back.
No, I completely agree. Like there is like love, life is too short to just put your life on hold and just don't be afraid to experiment, right? Like have multiple connections. Just stick to your core values. It's just do what feels right. Don't compromise that. If you feel like it feels wrong, okay, don't engage with the connections, but still do your work. Like be in the world. Like don't become a hermit. Don't put limits on yourself. We have oh, Irina came to the chat say hello, and she says, "I'm wondering why searching for other relationships never brought me happiness."
Because you're searching. Because you're searching and you don't have to search. You have to focus on you and what you need. And when you're ready, then someone's going to be able to meet you where you are. But the universe wants you to focus on you.
Mhm. Unfortunately, it doesn't come from external, right? Like it's just it's a little bit counterintuitive
No.
because it's if we expect to be happy or have happiness around us or someone to give us happiness, it doesn't work that way. It's gonna be reflected through other people if internally that's what you've developed with yourself. And this is our practice here, right? Like it's just, and it can be scary, it can be difficult because it takes this accountability and a self belief, you know, that we can make ourselves happy, we can buy ourselves stuff, we can make ourselves have a joyful time. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a question or comment from Adam. Whatever happens is meant to be. Both you and your twin are on your own journeys. That's a good
Yes.
reminder.
Very nice. And
Mm-hmm.
it's true.
Yeah.
And it's great to see that that from a male perspective, and I'm just assuming Adam's male.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, we have next comments from Irina. But we are human beings. We need to hug each other sometimes. I think this emotional needs, and of course, they have to be met, but then I think it's good to analyze where these needs are coming from, and then
Yeah.
can we have it through other connections? Like, can we maybe get closer connections with our family, with our friends, right? Like, don't put this. This is such a big responsibility to put on your partner. You don't want to build relationships this way. It will be creating a lot of pressure if you put your expectation on someone because you're not allowing someone to be free as they are.
Yeah. I just want to make a comment on that. I just want to, if you feel you need a hug, why aren't you hugging yourself? Why do you need someone else to hug you? Yes, we're human, but we came here with a mission. And I can tell you it's not about hugs. It's not about somebody else hugging you. It's about you embracing you so that your energy matches someone else's energy who is going to be able to help you, who is going to be able to grow and maybe part ways. We don't know, but you have to be open to the new way of doing things. And it's not about needing somebody to do this for you.
Mm, I love it. Thank you. Mm. All right, comment from Adam to it. Picture it like energy frequency. The universe matches your frequency. Just a confirmation to what you just said. Hmm. And Irina just commented, I'm tired of hugging myself. But this is a journey, and
Oh,
you're gonna be with
oh,
yourself for a long time.
oh. If you're tired of hugging yourself, Irina, then you're saying you're not worthy of love. You're not worthy of your own self love. So I would meditate on that. I would sit with myself and figure out why I said that. Why did you say that?
Mm.
Why are you thinking this? Because if you're thinking this, you're putting this out there. And if you're putting this out there, it's going to go around and around and around and around, and it's not going to go anywhere but around and around.
Mm. That's a good point. Mm. A comment about that from Adam. Hug yourself by reflecting on the positive interactions that you may have had with your twin. It's very soothing. Yes, if that's what helps you. Just remember no attachments here, right? Because the memories can trigger unnecessarily emotional responses and we like to dwell on them. And that's a very reason why people sometimes came back to the old songs that they remind of their twin. All this, like, it's you that you're putting yourself in this situation. Maybe like try not to do that. Like try to really move on with your life and be mindful of those actions that are kind of trying to make you feel this emotional response. It's the only way to kind of train your emotional body is really to say, not to put it higher or lower. Like there are different capacities that you have, right? Like your mental body and all of that that we were saying, but just don't kind of prioritize one over another. Especially as a twin flame, if we say that, I was telling to Gio and in several lives that we are composed of these different bodies, but if you're engaged in a twin flame connection, that means your emotional body needs some reset. Because otherwise, like your body is okay. You don't have to have any strong experience related to that, but we as the twin flames are becoming awakened through this emotional body experience. And if you're going through that, that means that something was wrong. Like you just need to clarify something and don't be afraid of even putting your emotional body on hold. And then from this awareness point, try to reset this thinking, see what was wrong, what was not working. Mm, re- reflect with gratitude. Mm, from
Mm-hmm.
Adam. All right.
Yes.
If there are any final questions to Lorna, we can take a few. Um, Other than that, I really wanted to thank you, Lorna, for sharing your experience. It was a pleasure to have you here and hear how it's going for you. We are in touch pretty often, so we have good idea what counts in our lives. But it's always good to have this support and just put it out there, right, for others to take an example. And I'm gonna be
Oh,
doing
yeah.
more of these because I feel that's needed and it really helps us to see this community environment here that we have. And
Yeah, thank you.
just one final comment from Irina. Yeah, around me is also hungry sexual people who are looking for pleasure, but it doesn't bring happiness. What to do? Just a final comment, Irina, because it's a little bit personal, but if you need some sessions, you can contact me and we can chat. But in general, it's if you have some issues with people who are coming to your experience, ask yourself, why do you accept those kinds of people in your experience? You're free to say no. If you feel that something is not matching your level, don't be afraid to say no to it because you're going to be constantly meeting choices and the universe will be asking you, is that what you want to have in your experience? And the only way to really get rid of those nasty stuff or things that are not healthy is for you to say no to it and just let it go and say, I really don't accept that in my life anymore. I'm new. I'm evolving. So, and again, like last comment to Irina because she's asking, what should I do if I can't understand the twin flame path? Is self-discovery, right? Or listen to the resources online, but with a little bit of discernment, because there is a lot of information out there, but looking for this heart, kind of doing this filter through the authenticity. Look for authenticity in what people are sharing, and don't look only on romance if you're dealing with the twin flame experience, because it's more than that.
I would advise her to have some sessions with Paulina.
Okay.
I strongly advise that, Irina. Have sessions with Paulina.
Mm. Yeah. No, I'm happy to help, because I'm really excited to see people evolving and just getting yourself from this self-imposed cages, because it's really so much out there, and it really feels that once you're able to embrace this or get to the next stage of a twin flame experience, your life is really starting to fall into place, because it's a kind of a test. It's once you're done with those strongest attachments, everything begins to flow. And that's how you see, oh, that was a blessing. It really brought me to the next level. I'm grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's like Adam said, right?
Yeah.
Gratitude.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Adam. Thanks, ladies. Until next time. So thank you, everyone, for coming. Irina
Thank
mentioned
you.
that she had a lesson with me. We can take it offline, Irina, if you want to continue. Um, and thanks, everyone, for coming. It was very exciting to have you here, Lorna. If you have any final comments, please add it now.
Me? Well, I just want to say it was a pleasure being here. I loved it, and it's no different than our chats, right, Paulina?
Actually, it feels very similar. Yeah, it was so natural. I loved it, actually.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you, people, for coming in and for, if you have comments, send them to Paulina at Aqua
Mhm.
Spirit United. See if maybe she can have some sessions for you. Maybe deal with his astrology. It's all needed,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So thank you. It was a pleasure being
Yeah,
here.
thank you, Lorna, and thanks everyone for coming. And Irina, yeah, I remember you. I remember we had sessions together. I remember some time ago, so maybe we can chat about continuing. And everyone, thanks again for your time. And until the next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Lorna.